Welcome to I'm Spiritual, Dammit. I'm your host, Jenniffer Weigel, and joining me in studio is author, healer, psychic, and medium, Echo Bodine. Echo, how are you?
Hi, honey. I'm great. It's a beautiful day here in Chicago.
Good to be
Holy
here, isn't it?
smokes.
Yeah, we got a good day.
Wow.
Now, you hail from Minnesota, so to have you here in town is pretty amazing. You did an event last night. We were at the Wilmette Theater, packed the house with people telling stories,
Yay.
giving people tips on developing their own intuition. You love to teach, and that's one of the things that you pride yourself on. You have 11 books under your belt. You're writing your 12th. So for you, this journey began, though very reluctantly, when you were a teenager. I interview a lot of people on this program, and some people have it from the age that they can remember, and some people get hit with it in their 30s after an accident or a coma or a near-death experience. For you, you're minding your own business in Minnesota, upper middle-class family, and a ghost comes in the basement. What happened?
Well, okay, this is 1965. My family is all sitting around the dinner table. We'd finished eating and we're just talking. One of my brothers was in the beginning stages of learning how to play the drums, and so he went downstairs to practice, and we heard, the usual. He was in the beginning stages, so he was kind of clanking away, and all of a sudden, really nice drumming music came from the basement or from the den, and we all looked at our dad, and Dad said, "I don't know, it must be the record I bought him." And so we just sat there listening to this music, which was just wonderful. And then about maybe 20 seconds later, my brother came running up the stairs, and he kept saying, "Did you hear it? Did you hear it? Did you hear it?" And we said, "Yeah, what was it?" And he said, a white figure floated through the door, across the room, put its hands on top of his hands, and played that music. And he said, "I tried to drop my sticks. I had my eyes closed and I could still see him." And he said, and then he floated back across the room and through the door.
Wow.
Okay. So we're all, what? And
like, whatever, bro.
Oh, my God. And my mom was in a prayer group at the time, and she, one of the women had mentioned that she had been to a psychic. Now, this is back in 1965 when, nowadays you can pick up any alternative newspaper and find ads for psychics. And back then you had to know somebody who knew somebody that had been to a psychic. And so she called this friend and said, "Okay, we just had a really weird experience. Could I have the name of that psychic?" And Mom called her. Her name was Mrs. Olson. And that's back when Folgers was doing their Mrs. Olson commercials. So we thought this was really cool that we were calling Mrs. Olson. And Mrs. Olson, Mom says, "Hi, my name is Mrs. May Bodine. We just had an unusual experience in our family." And Mrs. Olson says, "Yes, Mrs. Bodine, I've been expecting your phone call. Your son just met his guardian angel, Dr. Fitzgerald, and when he was living on Earth, he was a drummer. And he is going to teach your son many, many things, and I need to see you and your oldest daughter for a psychic reading."
And May was like, mic drop.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So Mom said, "Okay, I'll get back to you on that." Hung up the phone, told us what she said, and believe it or not, none of us found any peace in anything that she said. It was just too weird for us. We had never talked about psychic things. We went to Presbyterian church every Sunday. Just a regular dysfunctional family like everybody else.
Right. Basic Christians and, belief in Jesus. And that's about as far as it went. Okay. Yeah.
So Mom and I got really curious about, why does she want to see us for a reading? And we did call her back, set up an appointment. Oh, my gosh. And
what did she tell your mom?
Mom went in first, and it was so cute, too, because Mrs. Olson, she was just a sweetheart. Oh, this lady from England, she had the sweetest accent, and she said to me, okay, dearie, now I'm going to read your mother first, and so you sit here with Mr. Olson and watch TV. And I sat there like a statue. I did not move. I thought, oh my God, is he reading my mind? Does he know all my secrets? Like I had a lot of secrets at 17. But anyway, I was so nervous just sitting there staring at the TV. And then my mom came out, and we didn't really have time to chat. But the look on her face was kind of
like she'd seen a ghost.
Like, oh, dear. And so then I went in. And I have to tell you a cute story. Okay, so her reading room was very small. It would probably be the size of a walk-in closet these days. And right next to, so there was a little chair that I sat in, and it had a little tiny table next to it, and it had a glass of water on it. And so I was so nervous, and I went to get the glass of water, and Mrs. Olson said, no, dearie. No, don't drink the water. That's for the spirits. And I thought, oh, my God, they're going to drink the water. And I just sat there, again, like a statue. Like, what am I doing here? And
why are the spirits dehydrated?
Oh, my God. I was so
What is that? Is that just a protocol to leave water for spirits?
Well, honey, I didn't realize that at the time.
Right.
But, so what I did, the whole time she's sitting, writing out this reading for me and talking to me, I'm watching the glass because I want to see the water go down. It never went down. Right. But I asked her after the reading, okay, why is the water for spirits? And she said that's how they get their energy.
Through water?
From water. Yeah, I thought that was very interesting.
Huh.
And
what did she tell you?
She told me that I was born with all 4 of the psychic abilities and with the gift of healing, and that...
What are the 4 psychic abilities for those who aren't familiar?
There's clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, and clairgustance. And I'll tell you about those in just a second.
Yep.
Okay, so... she said, my father was at home with a migraine headache, which he was, and she said, go home, and she said, there's only 2 things I can tell you about the gift of healing is always use white hankies underneath your hands, and it's God that heals people, not you. Okay.
It comes through you from God. Okay.
Exactly. And so then she said that I would write many, many books, be on radio and TV, and I would travel the world teaching people how to develop their gift of prophecy and their gift of healing. And I looked at her and I said, okay, 2 things. 1, I don't have any of this stuff. And 2, I don't want any of this stuff. I just want to be a nice, normal person. And I told her I was going to go to college and blah, blah, blah. She said, you can do all of that in your next life. In this lifetime, you are here to be a well-known psychic and to guide people. And when I went out of the room, and I mean, I was stunned. I mean, she said other things that now I can't even remember, but they were all things that were happening about my boyfriend and, oh my God, all this stuff. And
this is a time before Google obviously was invented. She couldn't have researched these things, all the dynamics. How did she know your dad was home with a migraine? That wasn't told ahead of time. So a lot of stuff she tapped into without prior knowledge.
I know. I was, well, when Mom got in the car, I mean, we, both of us were talking at the same time. We were just like, okay, why is this happening to us? And Mom told me that the psychic told her that she would be a well-known psychic someday, that my brother Michael, who was only 8 at the time, so it was really hard to imagine. But she said Michael would be a well-known psychic and that he would write books and travel, and that my sister Nikki would come into her psychic abilities when she was in her mid-40s. And it was hard to even believe she was going to be, oh my God, the whole thing was just so bizarre to us.
Right.
Okay, so skip ahead about 6 weeks. And...
Oh, but first,
yes,
you healed your dad's headache that night. She told you that that you were going to put your hands on your dad's headache.
You're right.
And so then what happened when you got home? Your dad's cranky and he's in bed with a headache.
Yep. And I should also say that my dad had never in my lifetime come home from work with anything wrong. Even if he was sick, he would go to work. And so it was really strange that day when he came home at 3 p.m. because he had a migraine. And so he was not happy that we were going to go to the psychic, but whatever. She told me, She said, go home, put hankies on your father's head, lay your hands on top of the hankies, and just ask God to work through you. Okay, so home we went, and I told my dad what she said, and he was just laying there in bed, and he said, I said, can I put some hankies on your head and channel, give you some healing? I don't know what I'm doing. Okay. And he said, yeah, just don't hurt my head. And I said, okay. So laid the hankies out, put my hands on top, and all of a sudden they heated up like little heating pads. And I just stood there in total shock. Like, what is this? And they only stayed, you know what? I don't even know if it was a full minute.
Right.
I was just in shock that this was happening. Then
because you felt it. You felt the
honey,
heat. Yeah,
I felt it. And my arms, I felt an energy in my arms. And then they stopped. Everything stopped. The energy went away. My hands cooled off. And I looked at my dad, and he said, well, I'll be darned if my headache isn't gone. And Jen, I was so freaked out. I can't even tell you, honey. Okay, so I went to bed that night, and I just laid there trying to figure it all out, trying to figure out the rest of my life. Okay, so I have the gift of healing. Okay, so I better, let's see, I better I better get some robes, because I think healers wear robes. And I better stop smoking. Everybody smoked in 65.
Right.
I should probably stop swearing.
Yeah.
And I should go to India. For some reason, I thought India had a lot of sick people. And so you
were just going to go there and heal all the sick people in India.
That's what I thought. I thought, okay, well, there was Jesus Christ, and then there was Oral Roberts, and now there's me. And I just thought, well, okay, I just have to go like Jesus did, go to city and lay my hands on people and heal people.
Right. Your hot hands will do the magic.
That's what I thought.
Right.
And I think I just exhausted myself with all my thoughts and finally fell asleep. Mm-hmm. And the next day when I went to high school, back to school, I told all my friends what the psychic had said, and everybody was very quiet. Oh, that's cool. And then we all just dispersed, and it was a bizarre time, to say the least.
And that's when all the things started going bump in the night in your house.
Mm-hmm.
Because you guys were now open to the possibility that more was going on.
That's right.
And you were learning about your gifts, all of you, except for maybe your sister Nikki was sort of like, I'm not into this. Yep. And your dad was like, oh, you guys.
Right. Yep.
And so your mom basically let every medium, psychic, and healer that was coming through town stay at your house.
Yes, she did. Yes. It was a pretty crazy time. What we did between that night with Mrs. Olson, and then about 6 weeks later, is we went down to a really creepy occult bookstore in Minneapolis, and in this really seedy part of town. And we just bought up everything. We bought all this incense, and we bought, all of Ruth Montgomery's books, and a Ouija board, of course. Everybody should have a Ouija board. And so we just got crazy for like 6 weeks. We did all this stuff. And then all these spirits started coming into the house. And
do you think it's because you let them in, like, unknowingly?
Oh, yeah. We were so opened up psychically. We were so excited about everything. And, well, you know, if you're going to be a professional psychic someday, you better learn how to do all this stuff.
Right.
And so our house reeked of incense 24/7. It was just constantly burning.
Right.
And
salt and pepper shakers are moving around. The lazy Susan's spinning. The cabinets are opening.
Yes.
You could hear a typewriter in the hall. Nobody was typing.
Yes.
So you've got now, like, basically probably portals open left and right. You don't even know it.
No.
And for anyone who's listening out there who kind of dabbles in their Ouija board or tarot cards or whatever, what would you say to them? Because there are some very dark things that can happen with those toys, so to speak, for entertainment purposes, as we say.
Toys.
But you learned the hard way. Tell the Ouija board story with your sleepover.
Yeah. Okay. So, you know, back then, everybody whenever anybody had a slumber party, we'd always bring the Ouija board and, you know, ask it questions. And I think, you know, Jen, I think by that time, Mom and I were taking classes because our teacher told us not to get a Ouija board. But, of course, we had already gotten it. And so we played with it a lot. And what happened one night was that we were all sitting at the dinner table, and we heard this Echo, come here. It's like, what? And it did it again and again. So we all just sat frozen in our chairs and looked at our dad again. And
he was like, that's it.
Yeah,
out with the Ouija board.
I know. But Dad didn't know. We didn't
know what it was.
No.
Yeah.
So we called our teacher who had told us not to have a Ouija board and told her, okay, the spirits are saying really scary things. And she said, is there a Ouija board in Echo's closet? And yes. And she said, you take that thing and you burn it right now. Well, Mom and I had gotten so addicted to the thing that we didn't want to burn it. It had become like our buddy. And so what we did was Mom marched it out to the garbage can, which was a good 20, 30, could even be 40 feet from the front door. Okay. Mm-hmm. And we all went to bed. Okay. Ouija board's gone. Woke up in the morning and there it was sitting back on the kitchen table and nobody had gone outside to get it. And so we took it and we burned it in the fireplace, and a lot of the activity stopped at that point. But there was a point, it was about 6 weeks after our first meeting with Mrs. Olson that a lady from Minneapolis called. She introduced herself as Bertie Torgeson. I'm a spiritualist minister here in the Twin Cities. My guides have given me your name and your daughter Echo's name and 6 other people, and I'm supposed to teach you how to develop your psychic abilities. I mean, this lady came out of nowhere, and she said, the first class will meet in my home. Here's my address. I expect to see you a week from Thursday night. Boom, hangs up the phone.
Okay.
So Mom comes up to my room, tells me what, and I said, Mom, I'm getting so freaked out by all this stuff. I don't know.
I just want to go to the dance with Johnny.
Yeah, I really, can we just be normal again? Right. And so Mom said, okay, let's just go one time.
Right.
And we'll see what it's like.
Yeah.
And then we'll be done. Okay, great. So off we go. And what was interesting was the other 6 people in the room were just like Mom and I, really regular folks going, what are we all doing here? And who is this woman? And she was a little munchkin. Boy, she was a very, oh, God, she was gifted. Boy. And it was that night, okay, when she explained to us what psychic abilities were. Then I was like, holy smokes. Okay, yes, I have all of this stuff. But I thought it was normal. So here's clairvoyance is called the gift of seeing. And what that means is that we have a, for all of you listening to the podcast right now, just close your eyes really quick. And I want you to visualize your kitchen.
Unless you're driving, then pull over and close your eyes.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Do not do that. But you could even do it with your eyes open, actually.
Yeah.
Visualize your kitchen. Okay, now where you just saw your kitchen is where your third eye is located. It's right there on your forehead, and it looks like a screen. When a clairvoyant receives information, it comes into that, just like just now, when you visualized your kitchen, it was just like that. It comes in as pictures like that.
Like a movie playing in your mind.
Okay, clairaudience is the gift of hearing. And what that means, that's a little misleading because a lot of people think, when I say, or, we see James Van Praagh on TV saying, or Thomas John saying, well, Spirit says this. I'm hearing Spirit say that. All right, Spirit thinks to us. They do not talk out loud audibly. And so what the difficulty is for people that have clairaudience is the thoughts that come in sound just like our own thoughts. And so
the difference is discerning what's your thoughts and what Spirit, giving you. And I love the analogy you always give me, which helps so much, is that it's the bird flying in front of your car. It's like a whoosh.
Yeah.
When you're not thinking, it just comes in like boom.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And then there's clairsentience, which I would guess anybody listening to this podcast probably has clairsentience. Clairsentience is the gift of sensing, and we have all been using clairsentience since we were babies. We use our sensing to figure out, to feel, am I in a safe situation? Is this person good for me, bad for me? We sense. You know, a lot of people, when we get the weather report, we right away sense, okay, does it feel like it's going to be that bad? Does it feel like I should stay safe? It's very interesting. So that's clairsentience.
And for clairsentient people who are empathic, they could walk into a crowded room and it could be a real nightmare.
A real nightmare.
Because they're feeling everybody's stuff, right?
I know, honey. Yeah. So I'll talk about that in a second. The last gift is the gift of clairgustance, which is a different one. A lot of people haven't heard of it, but a lot of people have it, and that is the gift of smell. So what that means is that deceased relatives, when they come to visit us, we can smell them. And the thing about it is the smell doesn't last long. Usually we can get maybe 2 quick whiffs of them, and then it's gone. But that's how our deceased a lot of times will use to let us know that they've come to visit.
Like a cigar smell, a roses smell, perfume.
Yes, honey.
Their baked goods that they loved.
Yep. Now, there's clairgustance can help us in our everyday life. Let's say you're driving to work. You're a woman. You're driving to work. Oh, all of a sudden you smell your curling iron. Like, oh no,
I left the curling iron on.
Yeah. Or I mean, a number of things. It can come in as a smell, and that that one I don't think you can really develop. You've either got it or you don't have it. For those of you that have clairsentience, the problem for you is that you can become what's called a psychic sponge. You go into a room and you soak up everything. You walk by somebody that's got a headache, and now you've got a headache. You walk by somebody who had an argument with their boss. Now you're feeling angry. It's like, wait a minute. I woke up this morning. I was feeling great. Now I just went through all this blah, blah, blah. And now I feel totally out of whack, off base, I'm spacey. Okay, that's not a good thing. But that's what happens to a lot of psychic people, is we get thrown off course easily. And people tend to call us space cadets because we do get spacey just from all the energy that we walk in every day, all the phone calls, the emails, the texts, the tweets, the Instagram, all of it is just energy, and we feel it.
Right. It's an assault to the senses.
It is, honey.
So for those who are listening who are clairsentient, there's a way you can protect yourself. And you talk about clearing your energy field, clearing your auras, clearing your mind, your body, your soul, your spirit. That you gave us that last night. Speak that so that they can listen.
Okay, for all of you, even for those of you who don't even know that you're psychic or sense that you have anything, get in the habit every day of, and you can do this 10 times a day if you have to, just ask the universe, ask God, whoever you'd like to talk to, please clear me. Please clear me. And then you can say, please clear my mind, clear my mind. Please clear my body, clear my body. Please clear my aura. The aura is the energy around your body. Please clear my aura. And please clear my soul. Now, if you're feeling out of whack, out of sorts, you can visualize energy, streams of energy coming out of your feet. This is not going to rob you of any energy. You are full of life energy. Visualize these streams of energy going down into the ground and wrapping around some big tree roots. And what that does is it grounds your body. Our bodies love feeling grounded, feeling connected to the earth. And that's what you can do. You could be in a cement building, just visualize the energy going all the way to the floor and then going down through the ground, wrapping around some tree roots. It really helps a lot. Another thing that helps a lot, and you can't see me, but I always have on a mirror necklace, a necklace with a mirror on it. And way back, Bertie, that was our teacher, Bertie told us to wear mirrors in our bras facing out, which sounded just so uncomfortable. And so I never did it.
Right, before you leave the house, grab your keys, your wallet, and make sure you got a mirror stuffed in your bra.
Exactly. That just sounded too weird. So I never did that. But but one day, about, 20 years ago, I walked into a store, and oh my goodness, right there on the counter was a really pretty necklace with a mirror in the middle. And I just thought, you're kidding me. Oh my God. And I went over and I bought it and I put it on. And I could not believe the difference. I could not believe it. And
what does it do? It just reflects back
honey?
other people's gunk?
Yeah, it just reflects. And, I look at these little mirrors and I think, how can you do all this? But it has made a major difference in my life. And for my students, I always tell my students I want them to get a mirror necklace. There is a young lady in Minneapolis who makes them. And if you are not driving and are able to write down, her website is www.holisticarts.com.
HOLIST.
No, not .com.
Is it whole like WH or HO?
HOLIS.
Okay, perfect.
TIC and then arts
ARTS.
net, not .com, .net.
Okay, perfect.
And you can order them on her website. She's just a sweetheart. If there's a special kind that you want, if you have a really pretty necklace, but you want her to put a mirror on it, you could do that. You could also go to Michael's Craft Shop or Joann's or wherever, and you can buy mirrors yourself, and then you can put them on
your necklace,
your own necklaces. Yeah. And I just recommend them for everybody because it just helps so much. Even if I had a lady from Hawaii email me and say, my child is so sensitive and she's really having a hard time at school. So I went and got her just a cute little necklace for a little girl. And then I put a mirror on it and sent it to her. And she sent me a note about 2 weeks later and said, oh my God, it makes all the difference in the world. So, for men, a lot of men don't want to wear a mirror necklace, and they can put a mirror in their upper pocket. They can put it in their pants pocket. You just want it to face out away from you. And you can even tell the mirror that, okay, what you're going to do here is you're going to send all negative energy away from me, and I will only accept the positive. That's what Bertie used to say.
That's fantastic. Now, the first time you saw a spirit, you and your brother Michael do ghost busting. You get called. You make house calls. This is before Ghostbusters, the movie, came out, and it was given this term and this label. Tell the story about the first time you and your mom were called to a ghost bust. You're in your 20s, and you're like, okay, where are we going, Mom?
I know. Oh, my gosh, you guys. This was so funny. Okay, so Mom comes into my room and says, honey, Carol wants us to come out to her house and check it out. Okay. And so this was when Mom and I were in classes with Bertie. Okay.
So you're taking the classes, you're embracing it. You're out of college?
Well, I don't know if I've embracing it.
Yeah, but you're doing it, kicking and screaming.
I was in college at the time, my first year in college, and taking classes, okay. And so off we go to Carol's house. Well, on the way to Carol's house, I go, Mom, wait a minute. Why are we going to Carol's? Well, honey, she's hearing some noises up in her attic. Oh, okay. So I'm staring out the window. Well, okay, so, are we, I didn't even know how to phrase it. Well, are we looking for a ghost? And she said, well, I don't know.
We'll see.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Driving along. Mom? Yeah. What do they look like? Well, honey, I don't know, ghost. Oh, okay. Mom, yeah. What are we going to do if we find one? And she said, I don't know, honey. So that's how we were. Okay. Right. We were so inexperienced. All right. I grew up on Casper. So I thought, we'll go up to the attic. We'll see this little white blobby thing floating around. Okay. I don't know what to do with it, but okay. Then we can tell Carol that, yeah, Casper's here. And then we'll go home. Right?
Right.
I guess. And so, okay.
Right.
So we go up to the attic. Now, by this time, Mom and I have each other so freaked out. Okay, we're just like, oh, my God, what if it's this way? Just imagine if you and your mom and you're in psychic classes and you have no idea what you're doing. Okay. So we go up to the attic, and I can see people, invisible people.
They look like people, but they were sort of faint people?
Exactly.
Okay, got it.
There's a man and a woman and a boy and a girl, but they're not solid, but you can see them. I mean, we could see them. And I looked at my mom, and she was looking right at them. And so I thought, wonder why those people are here. Well, okay. And then I just proceeded to look for Casper in every part of the room, and Casper never showed up.
Right. But the people were still hanging out.
They were still there.
Yeah.
And so I had the thought, and this was before I really understood that spirits thought to each other. And so I had the thought, I wonder why those people are there. And all of a sudden, into my head came the words, "He won't let us go to the other side."
And you're like,
What? And so I look at this lady. Well, her lips weren't moving.
But you heard her thoughts.
But I heard her thoughts.
Wow.
And so then I had the thought, what do you mean? And into my head comes, my husband was an alcoholic, and he was a smoker, and we all perished in the fire, and he won't let us go to the other side because he's afraid he's going to get sent to hell.
Oops.
Okay. And I looked at my mom, and she was very focused on the woman, so she heard it also.
She heard the whole thing. Mm-hmm. So
Okay.
then what'd you do? Say, see ya.
Well, I look at Mom, and we're both like, well, what do we do now? And so we said to this lady, well, you can't be here. You have to go. Okay, so they went through the wall, right?
Okay.
Wow, that was really easy. And I still was looking for Casper. Okay, well, there's no ghosts. There were just people here. And we got in the car and we went home. And Carol called and said, well, all the footsteps are back. And we can hear people talking up there. And that's when we realized, holy smokes, we have no idea what we're doing. I mean,
and now 50 plus years later of you
Yes.
doing ghost busting,
yes.
you have to talk these spirits into the light, because that's why they're haunting, quote unquote. It's because they have not crossed over.
That's right.
They're staying close to the earth plane, either because they're afraid. You talk about that. They're afraid.
Yeah.
They don't know if they'll be judged. They don't want to go to hell.
Yeah.
If they're teenagers, they don't want to be bored with angel wings.
That's right, honey.
Zooming around.
Yep.
They want to be with their friends, so they stay close to where their friends are. You went to a
Yes.
haunted school to help one
Yes.
kid cross over.
Yes.
And so for these people that are listening now, if you've got things going bump in the night, it might be a loved one that is staying close to you for lots of different reasons. But they need to be talked into the light, don't they?
Yeah, they do. You know, Jen, I can't even tell you how long it took for me to realize, wait a minute, those people were ghosts. Honey, really, for the longest time, I kept looking for Casper. I did not know that a ghost was actually the soul of a human being. I really didn't know that. And I can't even remember when the light bulb went on, and I went, wait a minute, these are ghosts. And okay, so I did another one after that, which was just as ridiculous as that one. And then I said, okay, I'm hanging up this. I'm not doing ghosts anymore because I don't really understand any of this. And besides, it was kind of creepy just going to somebody's attic and seeing people just hanging out. It was
I'll say.
weird. Okay.
Yeah.
And so then, I don't know how many years later, we were no longer in classes, and my psychic abilities had developed more. And my brother, God bless him, he never had to take a class. I mean, he went to a lot of different places with Mom, but he just grew up having these abilities. You know,
he saw colors around people.
Yes,
Yeah,
he was like 6 years old when he would talk about these colors around people, and we just always thought he was just a goofy kid. We didn't know anything. And okay, so one of my students lived in a house. Well, she had moved out of it, but she owned this house that had been on the market for a year. And she asked me, she said, could you come to my house and see if it's haunted, because I can't get it to sell? And I said, you know what? I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'll call my brother, and if he can see spirit, then yeah. Okay, just
we'll come together.
Yeah. So I called Michael nonchalantly. Honey, do you see ghosts, or do you see spirit? Yeah, sis. Do they scare you? No. Okay, well, this lady has this house, blah, blah, blah. And he said, yeah, let's go. Let's go see what we see. Okay. Oh, my God. That house was so haunted.
What is happening?
They were everywhere in
man.
that house. Oh, my gosh.
A whole family.
It's like, families after, honey, when we walked in the front door, first thing we see, all these gentlemen sitting around a very old-fashioned table.
Like a card table? something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we go, whoa, what are you? And this gentleman, this man said to us, okay, now again, I'm not talking about living people. I'm talking about souls.
Mm-hmm.
So this gentleman says, well, we're all Quakers, and this is where we come every Sunday night to worship.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh, they weren't playing poker.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Oh,
Big difference.
no.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we walked in the kitchen, and there's a guy in the kitchen, and somebody had, I think she had ordered the pizza for Michael and I, because there was a pizza on the counter, and the ghost is standing there like he's pretending like he's eating the pizza. And I looked at my brother. He goes, oh, my God, a ghost eating a pizza.
Was it a Quaker or was it someone else? Yeah.
Completely somebody else.
Okay.
Then we walked in the bedroom, and there was a lady, spirit, laying in the bed. She looked awful. She looked like a dead skeleton. And so we asked our guides, because our spirit guides went with us that night, what is it? Her? And he said, yeah, she's just been here, and she doesn't want to go anywhere. She's very confused. Okay. Well, so then we go upstairs. Well, upstairs was just ridiculous. There were children in the closet. There was a teenager jumping up and down on the bed. There was another guy. He came up. Oh, jeez. He was really scary. And then there were more in the other bedroom. The place was crazy. And
how long did it take for you to get all those ghosts out?
It took a very long time, hours. It wasn't, we would take one room at a time. And our guides taught us how to do this. We would just go up to each spirit and say, okay, what's your name? Bob. Okay, Bob, why are you here? Why don't you go on to the other side? Well, because I did some things that weren't very good in my life, and I'm afraid God's going to send me to hell. So I'm just going to stay here. Mm-hmm. Okay. Then we ask the next person, hi, who are you? My name's Phil. Oh, hi, Phil. Why won't you go to the other side? Because my ex-wife is there, and I hate her, and I never want to be wherever she is.
Okay.
Really? Okay. Ask the teenager, why don't you go to the other side? Because it's going to be really boring over there. I just go over there, I get angel wings, and then I have to be really serious all the time. And I said, oh, my God. Okay. Mm-hmm. I mean, honey, we were learning ourselves. Just,
right.
Okay, this is why they... Okay. And then our guides, they came in and they taught us how to talk to them, just talk to them like real people, but say, you know what, you're really stuck. You need to move on. And so we did. We talked each spirit into the light. Mm-hmm. And then we went downstairs. We did we got the skeleton lady out of there, the pizza eating ghost out of there. We got the Quakers out of there. Mm-hmm. Her house sold a week later.
Amazing.
Isn't it cool? Yeah.
And that's the thing, too, for people that think there's a bunch of hooey. And, you talked about your guides giving you guidance. I want to talk about that because everybody listening has guides. We all have spirit guides. The guides change. Yep. Some of them are angelic. Some of them are people who now have turned into souls that are giving us guidance.
Yes.
It's part of their soul work to help us through these challenges. Yep. So you have guides that you work with. Yours change every so often. Mm-hmm. The guide that you have now is named Lily, but you told a hilarious story about John, your guide, if you wouldn't mind retelling that. You told it last night at the theater when you were a barber and a woman walked in and wanted a haircut.
Oh, Jen, that was just a riot. Okay. So this was in 1974, and I was a barber. I went to barber school, not cosmetology school, so I did not know how to do women's hair. I just did men's hair. I worked in a barber shop, and a woman came in one day, and she said, does anybody here know how to cut women's hair? And my boss looked right at me, and I'm like, what are you looking at me for? And, well, my spirit guide, John, appeared suddenly and said to me, oh, I can teach you how to cut her hair. And I was like, you can? Yep. Just tell her yes, and we'll get this done. Ask her if she has a picture. I need a picture. Okay. So I said to her, do you have a picture of what you want to look like? And she said, yeah, I do. And I said, okay, yeah, I can give it a try.
And was it Farrah Fawcett with the wing things? Okay,
but I'll tell you, like I said last night, it was so funny. That was a big joke in barber school. Was all these women back then came into barber shops everywhere with pictures of Farrah Fawcett and would say to people, can I look like her?
Yeah.
Oh, sure you can. And, maybe a third of them could. All right. So she whips out this picture. She shows me this picture. Oh, okay. I look at John. He's like, yeah, no problem. All right. And so he literally stood next to me and showed me. He said, okay, pull the hair up 3 inches. Okay. Hair up. Okay, cut there. All right. Next layer. Okay. Next layer. Okay. The sides. He literally taught me how to do the entire haircut. All right. I blow dry her hair. I turn her around, show her the mirror, and the woman was absolutely freaked out. She said, that is exactly what I wanted. So I said to her, okay, I have one favor to ask, and that is please don't tell anybody that I did this. And she's like, oh, you're so cute. Ha ha. Oh, my God, I'm so excited. And she was so happy when she left. Okay. The next day, 5 women came up from the bank that she worked in and wanted to make an appointment with a psychic barber. And I thought, no way. Because, Jen, at that point, I was still not out of the closet psychically.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I was working. I had gone to college for 3 years. I had I wasn't happy. And so I went to barber school. And, again, all my psychic abilities, I'm keeping them in the closet. If something comes to me, then I would find a way to share it with people. But I was very careful about telling people what I was actually doing. And, so often when I would be cutting someone's hair, all of a sudden my hands would heat up. And so I just let them be hot while I was cutting the hair. And then the person every time would say, wow, I had a terrible headache when I came in here, and I feel like $1 million. Or, oh, I had this terrible sore throat when I came in here, and I almost canceled, but I just had this feeling I should come, and I feel wonderful, okay? Mm-hmm. And I would never say anything.
Right.
Or out of my mouth would come words for people when I'm cutting their hair, and then they would look at me and say, how do you know that about me? And I would just be kind of like, oh, God. What did I say? Mm-hmm. I mean, it was a very interesting time of my abilities were getting stronger. I'm trying to keep it hidden from people. And the main reason is just because I don't want people to think I'm crazy.
Right.
And then finally, it was in 1979 when I had been in a really bad car accident, had been in traction in the hospital for 10 days. And the doctors, because I'd have my arms up all the time cutting hair, I would go get cortisone shots in my neck and in my spine so that I could just keep cutting hair. And finally, all 3 of my doctors, when I was 29 years old, said to me, you have to find a new career. I'm not going to give you any more cortisone. This is not good for you. And I was so mad because I knew that it was God saying to me, it's time. Mm-hmm. And for about a month, I kept thinking, oh, maybe I'll go to Macy's and I'll get a job. And, and then finally it was like a come to Jesus meeting where I said, okay, surrender, I surrender. And that's when my career took off.
And for you, healing has been part of it, but you also tell people about usually a past life will come up on why someone has a persistent challenge. We think that it could just be out of the blue. But last night, for example, a woman was talking about the challenges she was having in her marriage, but that they're sticking it out. And you saw that they've traveled many lifetimes together. Yeah. They're both stubborn, but they are indeed meant to stay together. Yeah. Because we don't even know why persistent challenges happen, but sometimes it can go deeper than we have any idea.
Yeah. You know what's interesting about that is she came up to me after, remember last night I said, how old are you? Because I kept seeing if they made it past age 46, that they would stay together. And I couldn't see her face.
Right. It was a dark,
no
theater.
idea what she looked like. Mm-hmm. And so I said to her, how old are you? And she said 56. And, oh, good. And I said to her, oh, good. Okay. Then if you made it past 46, then the 2 of you are going to stay together. She came up to me afterwards and she said, Echo, you know what's interesting about that is when I was 46 years old, I thought I was 47. And she said, so I went from 45 to 47. I never acknowledged that I was 46.
Wow.
She said, isn't that the strangest thing?
That is.
I said, yeah, that's very strange. Okay. She said, yeah, she said, I literally lost 1 year of my life, and that's when I was 46.
Interesting.
I know.
There's been a lot going on for her in that year.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the thing about past lives, which is interesting, is that I didn't believe in reincarnation. And, when Bertie would talk to us about reincarnation, I just turned a deaf ear to her because I think mainly because I didn't want to think about ever having to come back or that I was accountable for karma, right? If I had done something wrong to someone, that I would have to pay that debt in some way. Well, what started happening was when I would do readings, these pictures would come in. Like a lady said to me, this was the first one, and this one has always stuck with me. Excuse me. This lady said she was in a relationship with a man, and she said, God, we have such a hard time with each other, and yet I love him dearly. But what is the deal? Okay. All right. How can we get along? Okay. Well, so the pictures that come in, she's a nurse, and I can see it's in the 1800s, and she's dressed in a nurse's uniform from the 1800s, and I can see him, and he's a doctor, but he's an alcoholic. And so she was always covering up for his messes. She was his main nurse, and so he would get drunk in the middle of the day, and she'd take care of patients, and then, the doctor had to be called away. And I kept thinking, what is this symbolic of? How could this be interpreted in a different way? And so I said to her, okay, I don't really believe in reincarnation, but I'm getting these pictures. And so then that's when she told me that in this lifetime, she was a nurse, and she had gone through nurses training. She had known since the day she was conscious that she was going to grow up and be a nurse. And she said, I went to nurses school, couldn't stand it, and got out of the profession, and just wondered, why have I my whole life felt like I should be a nurse? She's currently married to the man that was the doctor. He was an alcoholic, and now he's in recovery. And the thing that they're always fighting about is that she always feels like she has to take care of him, and he's always saying, let me take care of myself. I can take care of myself. And she's like, no, I'm going to take care of everything for you.
The imprints on her soul are so strong.
Yes.
Yeah, she feels she
honey.
still has to do it.
Yes.
Interesting.
And they said to her, your life lesson here is you have to learn to let him be. And she said to me, I don't think I'll ever be able to do that. Interesting, huh?
Isn't it? How we won't let go of patterns?
Yeah.
Well, for you, I saw you do a presentation with a pastor from the Lutheran Church, Pastor Tim.
Yes.
And you've got some wonderful videos. If anyone wants to check them out online, echobodine.com is where you can find out all things Echo. But about the gifts of the Spirit. And how do you explain to people who say this goes against the Bible that this is actually in the Bible and celebrated in the Bible if you read the Bible?
That's right.
Okay,
for all of you Christians out there who think that I'm working for Satan or that this is evil. Okay, now let me just take a nice deep breath here and remind all of you that there are 9 gifts of the Spirit that are talked about in Corinthians. The gift of prophecy is what psychic abilities are. The prophets in the Bible got visions, didn't they? They had visions. They saw angels. They were able to heal the sick. Jesus taught the disciples about the gift of prophecy and about the gift of healing. And Jesus told them to go out and teach others about the gift of prophecy and the gift of healing. So, if you're all twisted up about this, I want you to go to Corinthians 12:14 and read about the gifts of the Spirit, and you will see in there that it says of all of the gifts, of all of the 9 gifts, the gift that is best to have is the gift of prophecy, because that's what helps people the most. This is the gift of prophecy, okay? Now, a lot of Christians believe that all of this died or stopped when Jesus died. That is absolute nonsense. Jesus told us, these works I give unto you, you will do better works than I do.
Greater gifts than these you will have.
It's so simple, and everybody, not everybody, but a lot of quote, unquote Christians these days love to make this a negative thing, and that is just wrong.
Yeah. And there are so many instances, not just in Corinthians, where there are instances of mediumship. I was told by a Roman Catholic priest that Saul had forbidden the use and practice of mediumship and psychics. But then he was fighting a battle and needed the guidance of Samuel and wanted Samuel's help. And Samuel was dead. So he says to the guys in the underground, go find me a good medium. And the medium came, and he got guidance from Samuel, who was annoyed that he had to come back because he said, hey, you know the answers. You've got them within. Why do you have to call me back to help guide you? That's in the Bible. So, but there are some gypsies and seers, that are con artists. I want to talk about an email that you received that you shared with the audience last night of somebody who is being scammed. And this is why people say this is the devil's work. There are some bad eggs out there who are scamming people, making them fear-based and telling them that they have to pay these psychics $5,000 to take the curse off, or I'll help you find your twin flame if we can. What was this unbelievable letter that you got with this woman who wanted guidance? She had already dished out how many thousands of dollars to this, quote, psychic?
$40,000 just since May. This psychic is going to help her find her twin flame / soulmate.
Right.
She has spent $40,000. The psychic needed precious stones. What was the other thing? There were three things that the psychic told her that she needed, and so she paid her $40,000. Okay, well, she still hasn't come up with this lady's soulmate, so now she told her she needs her to buy her, the psychic, a tabernacle, which happens to cost $175,000. And the lady sent me an email and said, what do you think about this? And I, of course, hit the roof. And, all right. Now, let's go back to the Bible for a second, because the Bible does warn us about sorcerers, enchanters, diviners. There are people out there who are not true prophets, all right? A prophet is someone who has developed their gifts of the Spirit, okay? Like I said, I worked on mine to develop mine for 12 years before I became a full-time psychic. A truly gifted psychic, it takes time. There's a lot to understand about the gift of prophecy.
Before you could hang your shingle.
That's right, honey. Now, a lot of these people, these gypsies, I don't want to call them gypsies because I have met some gypsies who are actually true psychic prophets, but...
Sorcerers? That's a good one.
Sorcerers, yeah.
They work with the dark.
Enchanters. Okay, stay away from these people. These are people who read cards. And again, don't misunderstand me because, my mom read tarot cards her whole life, and she was a very gifted psychic, but she would use cards just to help her. They were tools, all right? She used them as tools. She didn't use them to do all of her work for her. And a lot of these psychics that claim to be psychics are they're card readers. All right. Now, the Bible warns us against all of these people, mainly because what it says, and I totally 100% agree with this, that we should be going to God for our guidance and not people outside of ourselves. Right. But there are times, like this woman who wanted to know about why her relationship with her husband was so strained. There's times when a psychic can come in and help you see what the problem is. All right. So there are scam artists out there, and I want to tell all of you, if anybody, and my dad had this experience happen to him. He was at a football game, and a woman came up to him and said, "Hi, my name is so-and-so. I'm a psychic, and I can see that you have a very dark cloud around you, and someone has put a curse on you, and I can get rid of that for $5,000, and your life will become so successful."
Mm-hmm.
And my dad said, my daughter is a professional psychic, and I think what I'll do is I'll just go home and ask her to remove my curse. And she immediately walked away from him. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody, please, I'm begging you, if a psychic tells you that they need money, lots of money, and usually they start out with, could I just have a certain amount of money to buy a certain candle?
Right.
And then and now I need to buy some precious stones, and now I need to buy some incense. And oh God, some of the stories I've heard make me absolutely furious.
But now some people would say, well, then why do you charge for your sessions? It's a difference. It's not like here's $5,000 for a candle and remove the curse.
Right.
You're charging for your time like a doctor charges for their time,
Yeah.
or a mechanic charges for their time,
That's
because
right,
you've
honey.
spent years and decades honing your skills.
That's right.
So it's a big difference from that than somebody coming in and preying on your fears, manipulating you,
Yes.
and taking your money.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, and yes.
Okay.
Don't let it happen, because they're out there, and they're psychic enough that they can tune in to see how much fear you have, and that's what they work on.
They work on your fears.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Call in the light. Do your cleansing exercises.
That's right.
Trust your own intuition, because we all have it. You talk about this a lot, Ek. We are born with it, and it's our job to develop it like a muscle.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just run a marathon without training first.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Now, intuition is a little bit different, and that is located somewhere between your heart and your gut. Women will use the expression, "I just know this is what we're supposed to do." All right? Men will say, "My gut says this is what we need to do." So when you find yourself saying, I just know we're not supposed to go on that vacation. I just know I'm not supposed to go to work today. I just know. All right, when it's a knowing, that's your intuition. When it's your fears, you're going to feel fearful. I just know I'm not supposed to go on that vacation. All right. If it's fear, that is not intuition, because intuition does not have emotion. So let's say your best friend calls tomorrow and says, "Hey, I got us some tickets on this cruise. Do you want to go?" Okay, what I do in that situation is I always say to people, let me get back to you on that. And I walk away from it, and I ask my intuition, which is the light within me, within the center of my soul, which is the voice of God. That's talked about in the Bible also, that we find God in the still small voice within. So I go inside and I say to God, would that be a good thing to go on that cruise? If I get a funny feeling, no.
Yeah.
And then I'll say to myself, I'm going on a cruise. Oh, no. It feels icky. Does it feel like I know? Okay, but let's say maybe I am supposed to go on that cruise, and suddenly I'll probably call my girlfriend back and say, I just know we're supposed to go. Okay, that is intuition, and that's how you can tell the difference.
This just recently happened. My son and I were in St. Louis, and we were pulling into a store, and I said, "Should we go into this one?" And my son said, I have a bad feeling about this, Mom.
Okay.
And so his intuition was giving him a red light.
Okay.
And it was in a really seedy neighborhood, and there was like a fight happening outside of the store. So we zipped along, and we ended up going to a Home Depot down the way.
Oh, good.
So it was good. I'll ask him, "Well, what does your intuition say?" And we just don't listen to that enough. We get into our head.
I know.
You gave an example of when someone called you and said, I have this terrible psychic feeling my daughter's going to die in college.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
that's fear. That's not intuition.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah, because, okay, there was one time I was on my way to a doctor appointment, and I said to my intuition, I said, okay, help me remember everything I'm going to talk to the doctor about. And I heard the word in my stomach, or wherever. It's like your stomach is having a thought. So I heard this, no. And I said, what do you mean, no? Accident. Okay, it was a very calm accident.
Right.
And I thought, accident? I'm not going to have an accident. And so I started watching all the cars around me, everybody, and didn't look in the rearview mirror to see the guy that absolutely smashed into my car. And I did not end up going to the doctor. That was actually the accident that I ended up in traction for 10 days.
10 days. Yeah. Wow. When someone rear-ended you.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the point is, my intuition didn't scream or be
Accident!
frantic.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was accident. Mm-hmm. So when your intuition is talking to you, even when I remember in my marriage when we were having a lot of problems, and I would ask my intuition, is it time to get out of this? Have we done everything we can? Should I go? And it would be, no, not yet. And then one morning I woke up and the calmest voice said, okay, you can go now.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at my husband and said, it's time to get a divorce. And he had that same knowing.
Yeah.
Even though his head said, no, that's crazy. We're not doing this. We're not getting a divorce. We'll go back to therapy, blah, blah, blah.
He knew.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
EchoBodine.com, EchoBodine.com. Several books to choose from. I highly recommend What Happens When We Die, Echoes of the Soul, A Still Small Voice is wonderful for developing intuition. The Big Book of Healing with stories beyond stories about your healing abilities. Yeah. There's a lot. The Gift is another one. So just go, absorb, start developing your own intuitive muscles, and keep in touch with us. I am Jenniffer Weigel, and I am JenWeigel.com. That's WEIGEL.com. Echo is featured in my latest book, Psychics, Healers, and Mediums, which is Chapter 2. And I'm so grateful that we were introduced by our publisher, because it's been a divine thing to know you and watch you work.
Yes.
Thank you.
Was that just a year ago, honey?
Can you believe it?
Wow.
A year
Amazing.
ago? Yeah, March of last year.
Wow.
We met.
Wow.
Yeah. So thank you, Ak,
You're welcome,
for all
honey.
you do.
You're welcome.
And for all you listeners out there, stay spiritual, damn it. I'm Jenniffer Weigel, and we'll talk to you next time. 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 And we'll talk to you next time.